When you're young, life feels wide, wide enough to waste time, wide enough to delay decisions, wide enough to say, I'll do it later. Later feels infinite. At 25 years feels like forever. At 40, 10 years disappears without warning. At 80, time no longer feels wide, it feels precise. I didn't realize that until much later than I should have. No one sits you down early and explains how fast the ordinary moments will vanish. No one tells you that the days you rush through will one day be the days you miss the most. You think the important moments will announce themselves. Big achievements, major turning points, clear milestones, they don't. Life slips past quietly. It moves through routines, through conversations you almost didn't have, through chances you nearly took. And one day, you wake up old enough to understand what mattered, but young enough to wish you had acted sooner. If I could send one message backward through time, it wouldn't be about money, status, or success. It would be about this. Most people don't regret what they did. They regret what they delayed honesty, delayed courage, delayed living. And that delay costs more than people realize. Time is not what you think it is. You don't feel time passing while it's happening. That's the trick. You notice it only in hindsight, when patterns become memories and routines become stories. Years don't feel long when you're inside them. They feel long only when you look back and realize how quickly they stacked up. People assume they'll feel old someday. They don't. You feel like yourself, just with fewer tomorrows. That realization doesn't arrive loudly. It slips in quietly. One day you notice the seasons changing faster, birthdays arriving sooner, people aging, including you, without any clear moment where it began. The most dangerous lie you tell yourself is this: I have time. Time is not something you own. It's something you're allowed to borrow, briefly. And the price of borrowing it is attention. Every moment you spend distracted, you pay with something you can never earn back. Not money, not status, not opportunity. You pay with life itself. And the tragedy is that most people never notice the cost until the balance is already low. The things you chase won't love you back. For a long time, I thought success would quiet my fears. Each milestone simply moved the finish line. Each achievement brought new expectations, more pressure, less room to breathe. Achievements don't hold you when you're tired. Titles don't sit beside you in silence. Money doesn't remember your birthday. People do. And yet people are what we neglect first. We tell ourselves relationships can wait, that we'll reconnect later, that we'll call tomorrow. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Some of the deepest regrets people carry aren't dramatic, they're small. Unsaid words, unmade calls, unvisited places, moments that felt ordinary at the time until they were gone. Love doesn't need perfection, it needs presence. And presence is the one thing ambition quietly steals if you're not careful. You don't notice it leaving, you only notice the silence it leaves behind. Pain is not the enemy. No one enjoys pain. We're taught to avoid it, to escape it, to numb it as quickly as possible. But avoiding pain at all costs creates something worse: stagnation. The moments that changed me most were uncomfortable, painful. Loss teaches you what matters. Failure teaches humility. Disappointment teaches discernment. Pain strips away illusions. The problem isn't pain. The problem is refusing to learn from it. People who run from discomfort repeat the same lessons. Growth asks for bravery, not loud bravery, quiet bravery, the kind that sits with discomfort long enough to hear what it's trying to teach, the kind that chooses honesty over comfort, the kind that shows up when no one is watching. It changes everything. Fear is expensive. Fear charges interest. Every year you delay something meaningful, the cost increases. The courage to try something new is cheapest when you're young, but it's never unavailable. It just becomes harder to access. Most people wait until fear disappears. It never does. Fear doesn't vanish with time. It grows roots. Fear is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that something matters. If fear were truly dangerous, it wouldn't show up around things that could change your life. Looking back, the moments I hesitated haunt me more than the moments I failed. Failure teaches, it sharpens, it clarifies. Regret just echoes. It asks the same question over and over, what if? And there is no answer that satisfies it. The quiet truth beneath it all: life isn't ruined by one bad decision. It's slowly eroded by delay. Delay in speaking, in choosing, in living honestly. Most people don't wake up one day and realize they wasted their life. They wake up many days in a row and don't realize those days were their life. The hard truth is this: you don't need more time, you need more intention. Time doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards attention. And if there's one lesson worth learning early, it's this: don't wait for permission to live your life. Most regrets aren't about failure, they're about delay. Delay in loving, in speaking, in choosing yourself. Use your time well. One day it will be your turn to look back, and you'll want to recognize the life you lived. Not the plans, not the excuses, the life. How to live differently while you still can. Decide what you're not willing to miss. You can't do everything. That's not a failure. It's a fact. Life is defined as much by what you choose to protect as by what you choose to pursue. But you can choose what not to sacrifice. Health neglected early becomes limitation later. Not suddenly, quietly. One day you realize your body doesn't recover the way it used to. That energy has a ceiling. That small habits accumulated into permanent consequences. Relationships ignored don't usually explode. They fade. Calls become shorter. Messages become rarer. Eventually, silence feels normal. Dreams postponed don't die dramatically either. They lose energy. They stop calling your name. They become something you talk about in the past tense. Ask yourself this honestly: what would break your heart to look back on and realize you ignored? Not what would look impressive to others, not what sounds responsible, what would hurt you. Protect those things aggressively. Life will try to crowd them out. Work will demand more. Urgencies will multiply. People will expect access to your time. Let nothing important be accidental. If something truly matters, it must be scheduled, defended, and chosen repeatedly. Stop waiting for permission. No one is coming to authorize your life. There is no committee reviewing your readiness. No final signal that now is the correct moment. You don't need consensus to change direction. You don't need applause to choose differently. You don't need certainty to begin. Waiting to feel ready is how decades disappear. Readiness comes after movement, not before. Most people you admire didn't feel prepared. They felt unsure. They felt afraid. They felt exposed. They just moved anyway. They made imperfect decisions with incomplete information. They adjusted as they went. And that's how life actually works. Permission is a myth we invent to avoid responsibility. Once you stop waiting, something shifts. You stop asking, "Am I allowed?" and start asking, "Is this aligned with who I want to be?" That question changes everything. Simplify earlier. Complex lives feel impressive from the outside. Busy schedules, constant motion, endless commitments. From the inside, they're exhausting. Mental clutter creates emotional fatigue. Too many priorities cancel each other out. You don't need more. You need to be clearer. You need to be clearer. Clear priorities, so you know what deserves your best energy. Clear boundaries, so your time isn't endlessly negotiated. Clear values, so decisions become simpler, even when they're hard. Peace doesn't come from accumulation, it comes from alignment. When your actions match what you truly care about, life feels lighter, even when it's hard. Not because struggle disappears, but because you're no longer fighting yourself. Much of what people call stress is actually misalignment. When you simplify, you don't lose meaning. You recover it. Practice gratitude before you're forced to. One day things will be taken from you. Health, energy, people. That's not pessimism. That's reality. Time eventually reclaims everything it lends. Gratitude isn't pretending everything is fine. It isn't denying pain. It isn't minimizing loss. Gratitude is noticing what's still here. It's appreciating the ordinary before it becomes memory. The present moment is rarely glamorous, but it's always precious. Most people don't recognize their best days while they're living them. They recognize them later. Gratitude practiced early changes that. It teaches you to see value before it disappears, to appreciate what still functions, to cherish who is still present, If you can learn to appreciate the ordinary now, you'll suffer less later. Not because loss won't hurt, but because love will have been fully expressed. The quiet responsibility. Living differently doesn't require radical reinvention. It requires attention. Attention to what matters. Attention to what drains you. Attention to what you keep postponing. You don't need to live faster. You need to live deliberately. Choose what you won't miss. Move without waiting for permission. Simplify while you still have flexibility. Practice gratitude while the room is still full. Because one day, time will narrow your options. And when that day comes, peace won't come from what you accumulated, but from knowing you lived in alignment while you could. That knowledge is a quiet kind of freedom, and it's available now. I don't say these things to scare you. I say them because I wish someone had said them to me sooner, not as advice, not as motivation, but as a quiet warning spoken with care. Life doesn't punish you for being young. It punishes you for being careless with time. Carelessness doesn't look dramatic. It looks like postponing what matters. It looks like assuming there will always be another chance. It looks like confusing motion with progress. You don't need to live perfectly. You never did. Perfection is a distraction. It keeps you planning instead of acting. It keeps you polishing instead of living. You just need to live intentionally. Intention is simpler than people think. It's choosing what matters and letting it guide your days. It's noticing when your life starts drifting and gently correcting it. Speak sooner. Say the thing while the person is still here to hear it. Say it before pride hardens. Say it before fear rewrites the story. Love louder, not perfectly, not impressively, but honestly. Love in ways that leave no confusion behind, so that if silence comes later, it won't come with regret. Choose yourself more often, not in selfish ways, but in truthful ones. Choose the life that feels honest, rather than the one that looks acceptable. Choose rest when exhaustion is pretending to be strength. Choose alignment over approval, because one day you'll look back, not suddenly, not all at once, but in quiet moments, in pauses, in memories that arrive uninvited. And the only thing you'll want is to recognize the life you lived. Not the plans you made, not the intentions you carried, not the potential you almost used. The life, the days you showed up, the choices you made when no one was watching, the moments you didn't delay. And if you're listening to this now, you're earlier than you think. That matters. It means you still have room to choose differently, to begin again. To speak, to love, to align. Use that gift, not tomorrow. Not when things settle down. Use it now.